Hey guys, what's up? Brendan here. So sorry about this mess of computers and monitors over here. This is actually my working from home station during the virus, so I apologize for that. As many of you know, the Senate recently passed a $2 trillion stimulus package, which is the largest stimulus package ever, by a lot. The House is set to take it up today, which is Friday, and if they pass it, then it'll go into effect. But $2 trillion is a ton of money. Take a look at these images just to get a sense of how much money that really is. So obviously this is a $100 bill. And then you have $10,000 here. And then that's $1 million. This is $100 million. This is $1 billion. And then here's $1 trillion. You can see the size comparison to a football field in the back, the White House on the right, a 747 in the back, and a pickup truck in front. And each one of those stacks is $100 million. So that's $1 trillion. Now double it. And that's the size of the stimulus package. This is an enormous amount of money. The government has already reduced interest rates by 1% to encourage borrowing, and they've announced a $700 billion quantitative easing 4. If you want to learn more about each of those, I discussed it in an earlier video, which I'll link here. But basically, quantitative easing is when the Federal Reserve prints money to purchase government treasuries from its members' banks to infuse cash into the economy. The idea is that because of this extra money, these banks will be more likely to lend out money at lower rates. This helps the central banks keep the interest rates low. Quantitative easing can fuel economic growth because it funnels money into the economy, which should allow consumers to make purchases more comfortably. This can have a trickle-down effect on consumer and business communities, leading to economic growth and increased stock markets. So going back to the stimulus package, what's in this bill that you should know? I'll first start with some of the headline items, and then I'll go into more of the personal financial related items that will probably more relate to you. I'm going to try and leave my personal opinions out of this and just give a review of most of the relevant items that apply to most of us. So here we go. So I'll start with the part that most of you are probably interested in, the $1,200 we can potentially receive from the government. Now I apologize, I'm going to reference my computer here for a few of the items to make sure I get them right. Now $301 billion of the $2 trillion stimulus is designated to direct payments to households. So what does that mean exactly? So $1,200 will be paid to every adult and $500 to every child per household. Now only certain households are eligible for this payment. So payments start phasing out for those with an adjusted gross income above $75,000 for individuals, $112,500 for head of household, and $150,000 for married couples. Now above those income levels, the payment starts phasing out up to $99,000 for individuals and $198,000 for married couples. So if you make more than $99,000 if you're individual or $198,000 as a couple, then you don't receive any payment. So these adjusted gross income levels are based on your 2019 income tax return, if you filed. If you haven't filed yet, then it'll be based on your 2018 income tax return. But the final amount of benefits will be based on your 2020 tax return. So people who ultimately qualify for more money than they received this year will be trued up when they file their 2020 tax return. So for example, if in 2019 you made $100,000 and this year you made $70,000, then you won't receive any money now, but when you file your 2020 return, you will get the $1,200 then. But the reverse of that is not true. So say for example you make $70,000 in 2019, so you do get the $12,000 payment, and then in 2020 you make $100,000, so you wouldn't have qualified, you don't have to pay that money back, so you get to keep the $1,200. And if you're eligible for these advance payments, then the money will be direct deposited into your account if you use direct deposit when you file your tax return, or a check will be mailed to you. The government's goal is to send this first payment by April 6th. Now that's a little ambitious, and I've heard rumors that this might be pushed back a little bit. In 2008, the government gave out a similar payment like this, and they gave it out in batches, and it took about 8 weeks for them to get all the payments out. So I think that's about what we can expect this time. Now these income levels apply to about 83% of tax filers. So about 83% of the tax filers will receive some sort of payment from the government. It has also been mentioned that if the economy remains anemic, then there may be another payment in the summer. So that's about $300 billion of the $2 trillion stimulus package. So where's the rest of this money going? Well, there's about $250 billion designated to unemployment insurance. So the changes are basically that benefits will be extended from 26 weeks to 39 weeks, and it'll provide an extra $600 per week for the first 4 months. And about $349 billion will be designated for small business loans. If you have a small business and are interested in a loan, then you'll have to go to the SBA website, and I think file under the 7A provision. The other part of this is that amounts spent on payroll, rent, or utilities will not have to be repaid. So there's also $500 billion designated to larger businesses, states, and municipalities. So $29 billion will go for cargo and passenger airlines. They've obviously been hit very hard. People aren't traveling as much, and really they need the help. $17 billion will be designated for businesses deemed critical to national security, and the remaining $454 billion of this amount is to backstop losses in lending facilities established or expanded by the Federal Reserve. So really it's to make sure that these banks that gave out these loans don't go under. So there was also $32 billion that is specifically designated to passenger and cargo air carrier wage coverage. So just to help cover the wages of the employees working for these companies. There's also $150 billion for direct aid to states, $221 billion designated for business tax benefits. So this will allow businesses to defer payroll taxes and to claim deductions using today's losses against past profits. So it just gives them more cash available to keep their businesses running. There's also $340 billion designated towards supplemental spending. So what does that mean exactly? Well, of that $340 billion, $117 billion will be for hospitals and veterans care, so just to help those businesses keep running. $25 billion will be for public transit. Obviously, a lot of people aren't traveling right now, so public transit's hurting. And the remainder is for other. So take that how you will. So what are the changes that affect us personally, our personal finances? Well, for bankruptcy, those filing for bankruptcy don't have to use stimulus checks to repay past debt, and it extends the time to repay a portion of your debt. So current repayment time for bankruptcy is 5 years. This bill will extend it to 7 years. Hopefully this doesn't apply to any of us, but I understand sometimes we get unlucky and get in tough situations, so at least the help is there if we need it. Also, this one I found interesting was that for credit reporting, consumers who fall behind on their debt payments won't take a hit on their credit report. The bill requires lenders to allow consumers to defer or skip loan payments without reporting them as delinquent. So if you miss a payment on a credit card or something, then it won't negatively affect your credit score. Now the interest will still accrue, so I still recommend that we all make our payments on time if at all possible. Now another personal change has to do with mortgages. So companies that service federally backed mortgages are required to grant forbearance of up to 360 days to those harmed by the outbreak. So forbearance is essentially they won't force you into foreclosure for a certain period of time. So that's nice. You have about an extra year if you have trouble making your payments to try and catch up. And also servicers are prohibited from initiating foreclosures for 60 days beginning on March 18th. So you have 2 months where they're not going to initiate any foreclosures. Now there are also a few changes to retirement plans. From your IRAs and 401ks, you're allowed to withdraw what are called hardship distributions. Now, a hardship distribution is just a withdrawal from your retirement account because of an immediate and heavy financial need. So basically, this bill is allowing you to take a $100,000 hardship distribution. Now, this distribution is still taxable as ordinary income, but the bill allows you to have up to 3 years to pay the taxes owed. And those under age 59 and a half are exempt from the 10% early withdrawal penalty. Another change to retirement plans, and this is for 401ks in particular, if loans are allowed, then you can take a loan from your 401k for $100K. The limit used to be $50K, and that applies for the next 6 months, and is also limited to 100% of the value of your retirement account. And also, for new or existing 401k loans, you can delay repayment in 2020 for a year. The last change that they made to retirement plans is that they're suspending required minimum distributions for a year. So real quickly, required minimum distributions are an amount that the government requires that you take from your 401ks or IRAs or 403bs after you reach age 72. It used to be age 70 and a half, but recently was changed when the Secure Act was passed. So basically this year, the government is not requiring you to take this distribution. Now this benefits you because you can leave your money in your account and allow it to continue compounding. It's especially useful this year when we've had such a decline in the markets, so you don't have to pull money out and sell securities when they're at such a low. So another change is to student loans. Federal and student loan payments may be suspended through September 30th, 2020 without any interest accruing. So you have a little break on your federal student loan payments. You don't have to pay through September 30th and interest won't accrue. So the last relevant item in this bill has to do with taxes. And for those of you who don't itemize your tax deductions, you can actually take a $300 charitable contribution deduction even though you don't itemize. So that's all the relevant items that I found. There are a few other parts of this bill that I just didn't think applied to us as much, so I didn't include them. I am going to include a summary in the description below if you want to reference any of the things I mentioned. Please let me know in the comments below if you like this stimulus package or if you think things are good or bad or what you liked or didn't like. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. I hope you found this little review helpful and you have a better idea of what the stimulus package is all about. Stay healthy, take care guys.